Okay, hi everyone. I'm very happy to be able to be back in touch with the Italian scene. Unfortunately, online only this time around due to the situation of the world. But nonetheless, we're very pleased to be part of everything that's going on in Italy once again. So my name is Sjoerd. You might have met me before or seen me before, and I lead the evangelism team for the Unreal Engine in Europe.
Yeah, and my name is Mario Palmero. I'm also part of the evangelism team for Unreal Engine, and yeah, we hope that you're safe and well.
So today we're going to do a walkthrough to what is happening at Epic Games and with the Unreal Engine and some of the initiatives we have going on, what we're doing, trying to do for the industry as a whole, for the games industry as a whole and other industries, and the different initiatives we basically have going on for, trying to support and help developers build build their games. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit through what is happening. So as mentioned, my name is Sjoerd Young. My email is visible here on the slides. My Twitter is there as well. Likewise for you, Mario. So you're more than happy to get in touch with us at any one point. Very happy to chat about pretty much anything. But going forward, so we've got, obviously Fortnite is the big game of Epic. Fortnite is going strong and has a huge impact on the Unreal Engine as well. It's a test case for us to basically try, when we implement new features in the engine, we can try them out in Fortnite on a huge scale across many different devices. They have to run full performance. So for example, what you've seen in recent Fortnite updates is, for example, water. That's coming into the engine now as well. By 4.26, we're going to have water in there. There's a number of other things, like for example, the new sky and atmosphere system, which I'll briefly show in a little bit. And there's a huge number of improvements that flow into the engine all the time due to Fortnite.
Yeah, but even further from the, it's not only about the engine. It's also the battle that we fought again to have crossplay along all platforms. We wanted to share that with all developers around the world, and for that we, for example, are publishing our Epic Online services, so you can also reach customers all along all the platforms. Yeah, so it's not only about the engine, it's about the whole ecosystem that we are trying to build, and that every step that we do and every fight that we fight, that you can benefit from it for free. That's our philosophy. That's our vision.
And that's also visible in what we do when we, for example, travel around Europe. Now, unfortunately, this year that is, again, difficult to do. But we try as much as we can to travel around, meet everyone everywhere, see face to face, visit the studios, all of your studios as much as possible, or take you for dinner, take you for lunch, and for example, attend local events. Milan Games Week we've been at for several years now. We would have been at this one.
Even smaller events like meetups. We have trying to support meetups and visit meetups and spice them up.
And when we go to events like that, where possible, and where it makes sense, of course. For example, with Milan Games Week, we try to sponsor the indie booth or initiatives like that to do what we can.
Other examples in events would be I facilitate a talk for a Unreal Engine developer during Game Lab, and also we gave or sponsored tickets for free, not only to Unreal Engine developers, but all developers that attended last year, for example, during this Game Lab, the Game Lab that happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So as much as possible, we try to facilitate networking in general, try to facilitate people getting in touch with each other. Not just with each other, but also with parties that might be able to help them. So, and that means, talking about maybe contractors, or if you're looking for a publisher or anything like that, where possible. But we'll try as much as we can, because in the long run, that's going to benefit everyone, and that's what we're really all about, to benefit everyone. We want to go forward as an industry. We think we can do better. Better sounds negative. I don't mean we're doing badly, but we think where do you go in the next 10, 20 years as an industry, right? We can go further in a lot of different fronts. For example, with the store, we're taking, how do you do digital distribution for games? That's what store. We have the online services. Indeed, we have all these different areas. How do you move forward? But we can't do that alone, and that's a really important message. It cannot just be us doing that. This is us together as an industry. Let's move forward. So we have to be there together. So we have to also be able to, whatever help we can offer, we'll do so.
And at the end, the finality is that if you have a vision, then you know how to achieve that vision. Maybe you lack the knowledge on how to publish that, or how to market it, or how to connect that vision to other resources. And it is that as much as we can, we will try to help you out delivering that vision to the final customer and empowering the game development in this industry. And that's why we build all these pillars, or all those different parts of the ecosystem, so that if you have the vision, that vision will find a way to the final customer. And the mega grants, we will talk about the mega grants later. It's another way of helping you out if you have something interesting to share.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we're after is cool games. A lot of other things as well, non-game applications as well. But within the game industry, we're looking for really cool games, and it doesn't matter if the game has been done by a very large team or a single developer. We want to support everyone as much as possible. I'm always really touched and really captivates me when I meet developers who are solo developers, or maybe 2 or 3 people, and they've been working on the game for a year, 2, 3 years, sometimes a lot longer, and it's really cool to see what they can manage to do, all on their own, by just keep really focusing on their creation. So that's super cool.
And it doesn't have to be even the vision, but the way they achieve it. I met a very small studio, three people, 3 developers, that achieved to make a multiplayer shooter just in Blueprint. And for me, it was surprising. And it's not always about the gameplay mechanic, but the way they achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the key thing for us with the engine, to facilitate and to allow doing that. And when we talk about Unreal Engine 5 later, it's the same thing there. So
providing the best tools, not only on the engine, but the developing tools.
Yeah. And so when we talk about the Unreal Engine specifically, next gen is coming up, right? So the way it looks at the moment for Unreal Engine 4 is it's supporting next gen, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. It supports that right now with 4.25 as a first version. It are still early days. We are actually going to do a 4.25 plus version of the engine, which is a rolling version where we continuously update the engine over the next few months, bringing in additional changes and improvements for next gen development. But 4.25 as it stands at the moment is next gen ready. In order to get access to it, you need to chat with us, so we can verify your console or developer status, but it's available for pretty much everyone if you do so. We're going to carry that on. Fortnite will in fact be ported to next-gen platforms as well, so that will be our test case. It's in fact, in Epic's very long history, it's the very, very first time in fact that we have a launch title for next-gen platforms, for the next generation of platforms, and that's going to be Fortnite. So yeah. There's a few additional features here. We only have 2 slides, but we could have added 100 slides. For example, real-time ray tracing is now officially production ready since 4.25. The other slide here, for example, is on Niagara, which is also officially production ready. But again, we could have added 100 slides. I actually recently, let me quickly switch over here to the editor for a second. I've been working with our new Sky and Atmosphere system. So this is a talk you can find on our YouTube channel. It was released recently. Essentially, our new Sky and Atmosphere system simulates day and night. It's completely real time in editor, etc., etc. We've got volumetric clouds in there. You can see there as well. You can fly to the actual volumetric clouds. So there's a lot of really cool new features coming in. And the coolest thing with this actually is it actually casts a shadow. Try to get the as you can see, as the clouds roll over, they cast a shadow on the world underneath. You get God rays passing through the clouds, and all of it entirely dynamic. So we've got a ton of new and cool features coming in. This was just a small selection, but the engine is going very, very strong, as will also be apparent by the end of the talk when we start talking about Unreal Engine 5. So, but moving forward, we've got the mega grants. When did we launch the mega grants? I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2019? No, 18.
No, GDC,
18, I think.
The mega grants.
Yeah, the mega grants was 18, I think.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, 2008, 19.
Last year.
Last year.
GDC just last year.
Yes,
yeah,
so sorry. Yes.
It's been a long year, but yes.
A huge number of things happening all the time, so it can be difficult to remember which year specifically. Yeah. But so we launched the mega grants, which is $100 million dollars in grants that we're giving away to all kinds of different verticals. So it's not just games; it's different uses of the engine as well. But almost anything to do with the Unreal Engine. For example, for game developers, for media entertainment, enterprise, education, and all of those have to be related to Unreal. But the last category is tools and open source, and that could be any. It doesn't have to be based on Unreal. So, for example, we've awarded a fairly large grant to Blender to support them in continuing. So,
and also another one for Godot.
Yes, we support Godot as well. Yeah. So this is a rolling initiative. It was 100 million in total, which we anticipate would take about 5 years. So we're in the second year. There is no deadline for that reason. You can apply online at any one point.
It's no strings attached money, so
yep.
You can ask for the money knowing that we're not going to be chasing you until you finish your project or you develop something.
Yeah, so yeah, it doesn't have to be paid back. It's literally a grant to help you. There is no specific things that we can say that we look for. Preferably the game has to exist in at least some type of prototype. Something has to be there. It's strongly preferred, not necessary, but that would be strongly preferred. You can apply multiple times. It's even something we would advise rather than applying once for a very large sum. We kind of would prefer it if it's multiple times for smaller amounts for specific steps in development. And so, yeah.
And even if you're rejected, maybe your project is not in such a status for us to think that it can be finished or that it is going to be great. But if you improve it, later on, you can ask again with no penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. We recently also, when we announced Unreal Engine 5, which is the elephant in the room, we'll get back to that in a bit. But when we announced that, we also announced that we changed the revenue model of the engine in terms of the initial royalty-free amount of revenue. So that used to be, if I remember correctly, $3,000, I think, or something like that per quarter. That was pretty much it, yeah. We've changed that now to the first 1 million in revenue is now royalty-free. So essentially, the game can earn 1 million gross, and then the regular 5%, as always before, applies. So.
Yeah, but there's also a cap per quarter.
Yes, there is. I believe it's 10,000 if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yes. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if you have surpassed that limit of 1 million, if you don't do 10,000 per quarter, you don't have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind it is we really want to help people succeed, right? So we want to help you. We want to try to facilitate you getting to that point where you have a successful launch with the game. So if we can do that by, for example, removing the royalties as much as possible, we will do that. Now, if you've gone past the 1 million in revenue, the game is dependent on how, the budget you had and some other factors, but the game is at least pretty successful. It has gone through at least the early stages, or very far. Again, depends on the budget and all that and how you have approached it. But it's only then that we would step in with the licensing model as before. So that's a really cool change, I think. Makes a big difference to indie developers. Then alongside that, we have some other pillars that make up the Epic ecosystem. We've got the store and the online services. So Mario, you briefly touched on the online services a few minutes ago.
Yeah, the online services were published also also when we announced Unreal Engine 5 and the new reality. Um, and they're the services that we have been using for Fortnite again, um, but free for everybody and hosted on our servers. The only thing that we are not hosting is anything that is on code on your server side of your game. But matchmaking, cloud saving, player sentiment, a lot of a huge package of features that you can get out of the box right now, right away. Right now it's a pure C SDK, but we want to create an implementation for Unreal first, and then for their other engines.
Yeah, yeah. So that's readily available. The store is going incredibly well. We have an ever increasing number of titles and games on the store. Essentially, we're continuing the effort with a number of free games a year. We're looking for not yet released games typically, so that's what we're looking for. So that's an initiative that keeps on rolling. There is a forum on our website where you can register interest. It remains a bit of a closed curated system at the moment. We are looking at how we're gonna, how that would evolve over time in the future, but for the time being, it remains a closed system as we're still building a lot of the backend solutions and things that we need, as we're still establishing the store and trying to understand also, what are the things that are important for running a store like this, and so on and so on. But yeah. Then, just like we touched on last year, if you were at our talk in Milan last year as well, we're expanding into many different industries, and I think that's really interesting. It's interesting as a game developer. We are game developers ourselves, but it's also interesting for many different reasons. So we're dealing with AEC, so architecture, engineering, construction. We're going into media and entertainment industries, so that would be live events, it would be film and TV and broadcasting, film, VFX, animations, anything in that space. There's a lot of manufacturing, there's some simulations, automotive industries, like a huge number of different spaces where there is a real need for real-time technology. And it's opening up all kinds of doors for those industries where they realize where they don't have to pre-render something anymore, or it's much easier for them to preview a certain asset, or to visualize a certain asset, or to run some kind of simulation, or a training application, or anything in that space, or a product configurator. So a huge number of applications, and it's really been taking off. We started this, if I remember correctly, primarily around 2016, 17, somewhere there. And in the last 3 to 4 years, it's just massive number of things that have been happening in that space.
And it's incredible how these different industries are blending together. How you can find interaction now in things that will be called a movie or a film and set. So all disciplines at the end are quite similar and are blended together, and there's a lot of enrichment in all this process of opening to other industries.
For me, it's really interesting because you tend to be a little bit in a bubble. I mean, everyone tends to be in their own little bubble. I think especially we as game developers, you're in your own game industry scene, which is, has its own little vibe, and it's its own community, and everyone knows everyone, but you're a little bit in that bubble. But there's a huge amount of things happening outside that space. I remember when I started in Belgium over 20 years ago, there was one games company there. So when I said I wanted to make games for a living, everyone thought I was crazy, and they sent me to a psychiatrist, because it was impossible to find a job. That was not a career. But now when I go back to Belgium or any other countries, you see the largest companies in those countries are using real-time technology. You have banks using it, you have car manufacturers using it, you've got all kinds of other really large corporations using it. And suddenly the skills you have as a game developer are now applicable to those different industries. That's really interesting. Suddenly as a company, you have perhaps opportunities for consultancy type opportunities, taking on certain projects for these kind of industries. So it's really interesting to see. I think it will enrich all of us. Our vision is for the future is we see everything come together. We see one large ecosystem. All these different industries come together. We see skills that are transferable. We see assets that are transferable. So it becomes one media, essentially.
I mean, it also proves that the engine is flexible enough, and that our solutions were good from the beginning. That the Unreal way works. So if you learn that, you will be able to reuse that knowledge into a wide variety of projects.
And not only that, but I mean, the engine is games is what we do traditionally, right? And the engine is super powerful for that. I mean, just look at Unreal Engine 5. But what we push for in games are often very specific things. They're very specific ways that we build and play games. But other industries are going to have wildly different expectations. And suddenly the engine has to support all of those as well. So what we end up with is an engine that can do a lot more than just that, just what you need within the game space. I still vividly remember there was a company in the Netherlands and they wanted to simulate a power grid. And so they're like, so we need to simulate like 1 million different houses or something in real time, all the different loads of the power and all that. So how do you set something up at that scale? How do you make sure the engine is prepared for handling something that has 1 million units essentially? So it's basically a real-time strategy game with 1 million buildings at least or something. It's those kind of things. It changes the engine, it changes the way we have to approach certain problems. So it's really cool. As part of that also, we acquired Twinmotion. I think, again, years are difficult to remember at this point. I think about 2 years or something ago, if I remember correctly, but I might be wrong. So Twinmotion is, they're based in France, in Strasbourg, and they are an architectural visualization product based on Unreal. So essentially it brings in, the data and it visualizes it in real time with, the rendering you would expect from Unreal. So dynamic lighting, shadows, the whole thing. We can place people, animated people, vehicles, place them on a path, simulate seasons, all those kind of things. So it's a really cool tool. And Quixel joined us in, I think it was November 2019. November, I think, actually. So Quixel is the Swedish photogrammetry company with megascans, where they're scanning lots and lots of surfaces and objects in the world and adding it as a megascan to the Megascan library alongside a number of authoring tools. And they've joined the family as well. So, and as part of that, we made all of the Quixel Megascan assets and tools free for any Unreal Engine users. And we halved the price, I believe, if I remember correctly, for everyone else.
For non-Unreal developers, yes.
Yeah. But then let's go back to the elephant in the room. It's Unreal Engine 5. So we're not going to show the video here. We're just going to talk about it. We assume, or we hope, or if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely go check out the video. So that launched a number of weeks ago. But there's a number of really cool things in there. So first of all, there is Nanite, which is the most obvious one, perhaps. So Nanite is the rendering of micro, sub-pixel, essentially, polygons.
Triangles.
Yes. Yeah. So there's billions and billions of triangles in there. This is crazy. Again, if you think about where we come from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, and now to consider, when I started, I was starting with making houses that were 100 polygons per house. So you had to crunch, every single triangle had to be crunched. And we're now to the point where you can just import your ZBrush model, which is exactly what we've been doing, and it just works. Well, that is cool. It just literally just works. The triangles are often so small, as mentioned, that there's below 1 pixel in size. So basically every pixel is a triangle. It's insane. So you might remember, for me, the first time I was looking at the video, we had a preview obviously internally. I saw the fairly finished video quite a while in advance. I literally had tears in my eye because it's so cool. At the first statue where you're like, here's one statue imported from ZBrush. Oh, and here's an entire room. I forgot the number, but it was like 200 or something. No, that's just cool. And it's going to be a game changer, not just for the games industry, for different industries as well. It's going to be a game changer in terms of workflow. If you can import assets, and you don't have to necessarily go through the baking process anymore. The loading process is different. All of those kind of steps are going to be changed by this.
The engine will handle your assets in a way that the micro detail is going to be always visible, no matter the distance. So yeah, that's the idea, that you don't have to handle all that load creation, that you are always going to have the best quality from your assets, because its pixel is going to be having a tray. Yeah. The best resolution that you can have.
Yeah. And as part of that also there was Lumen, which is the real-time global illumination system. So essentially, as the light, if you have a flashlight or something and it goes through the environment, the light actually bounces away from the geometry. If the ceiling opens up, you see the light spreading inside and then bouncing away from the surface it primarily hit. The first hit was on, and all of that. So we're trying to get to a point where it's, you're not going to light map these billions of polygons anymore. It's all going to be as real time as possible. It has to be, basically, it just works. You import the assets, you place the lights, and it's there. And it looks good. It has global illumination. Everything is there.
And it runs in a PS5.
And it runs. So it runs very well.
Yeah. It's really difficult to explain what it is, Lumen, in fact, without the video, because when you watch the video, you see how the ceiling falls, and also it opens in the studio scene and sets. So if you haven't, just go now and watch the video.
And we've made all kinds of other changes there too. Animation-wise, for example, we've changed things. Niagara, as mentioned, is production ready. That was shown in the video as well. So a whole number of other things.
Yeah, we're introducing next-gen animation techniques for more complex interactions and more natural reactions. Yeah.
And then the real cool part of the video was towards the end as well. As you see the landscape, so it's obvious it's not just an indoor small scale area, but suddenly you have this huge open vista. And then the vista isn't just background either, but you can actually go through it. So as the girl starts to fly through it, that's cool. So anyway, there's a huge amount of cool stuff there that will be released when Unreal Engine 5 hits. It will hit next year. And then it's going to be a continuation of Unreal Engine 4. That's also important to note. So as you're looking to prepare for Unreal Engine 5, while it's not currently available and it's going to be a while more until it is, it's a continuation of 4. So if you know 4, if you already use Unreal Engine 4, you'll be in a very good position to transition over to Unreal Engine 5. You will in fact even be able to take your projects and transition your projects over to 5. We anticipate there will be, some conversion overhead to deal with, but not more so than having to deal with a number of point release updates. So let's say you would have gone from 4.18 to 4.22, or I'm just picking numbers here, something in that direction. Depends on the game, depends on what you're doing, but it's definitely not Unreal Engine 3 to 4, which was a different level.
Yeah, it's going to be doable.
Yeah. And if you're new to the engine or you haven't used Unreal yet at all, but you're interested in Unreal Engine 5, the best way to prepare would be to use Unreal Engine 4 at the moment. It's going to be similar workflows in general. I mean, there will be some changes. There will be perhaps some new workflows, of course, related to Nanite and other things. But in general, it is the Unreal way of working. So the best way to prepare is to look into Unreal Engine 4 at the moment.
Yeah, the philosophy that we have for seamlessly downscale to lower platforms, and that kind of philosophy is going to be followed in the same direction with Unreal Engine 5. So Unreal Engine 5, all these features that you have seen in the trailer are going to downscale nicely, transparently. That's our philosophy. So learning the Unreal way now with Unreal Engine 4 is going to give you a step ahead into knowing Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. More information about Unreal Engine 5 is actually going to be shown and explained and released at Unreal Fest, which is, at the time we're recording this on Monday, is tomorrow. I believe this is shown on Wednesday, so that means it was yesterday. So by Wednesday, it should be on YouTube, possibly in the evening, but once it's shown at Unreal Fest, and I believe you can also still register for Unreal Fest. It's our online conference. It was meant to be in Prague. Again, due to the situation in the world, it has gone online. But we're gonna release more information there, and you can also find that back on YouTube probably by the time you're watching this. So cool. Cool. Yeah, as mentioned, please feel free to get in touch with us at any one point. Mario and I are always very happy to chat. We will also be around this week. We're in the Meet to Match system, for example. We'll idle around on different places and channels, and we'll try to, once we can start traveling again, we'll definitely try to come back as soon as we can.
Yes.
To Italy.
We will be more than happy to hear about your projects or your concerns or any question that you have. Just feel free to reach out to us.
Cool. Very cool. Well, it's great being able to do this, even though I'm just sitting at home in Sweden, but it's still nice to be able to talk to everyone again. So,
yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Thank you for listening and take care.
Yeah, thank you.